It is Wednesday evening, and it's time for another Auburn Family Night here at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. Your calls, your questions, and your comments are what we're going to talk about tonight. Let's get into it right now. Well, War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you are watching here of home base of YouTube, where we hope you all will end up at some point. We know that there are those watching on Facebook, various other platforms out there. So we appreciate you being here, choosing to spend your hard-earned time with us to talk about the Auburn experience, about sports, culture, and just flat out about the Auburn family. As is the case with every single Wednesday night show, when Kyle shows up, for those of you that came last week and Kyle didn't show up, we get together and we just discuss what is on your minds, the things that you're thinking about, that you're interested in. Obviously, some very important things right now. Some news today and this week. Jalen Williams, Janai Broom, both coming back to Auburn basketball. The baseball tournament, the baseball regional, being hosted by Auburn this weekend. And various other topics out there with SEC conference scheduling and things like that that we can get into that are related to Auburn. All of that's on the table and more. It's just you that gets to pick where we go with these things. Big thing that you could do for me right now as we start the show. Most of you know the drill. Go ahead and post where you're watching from, your city and your state. If you can do that for us, that is a huge help to let us know who's here, where you're watching from, so we can address you. All those good things. Post a War Eagle in there too if you want. If we've got some rogue fans from other fan bases out there, please let us know who you are and what your affiliation is if you want to do that. But yes, of course, smash the like button. The share button on social media if you can. That is a humongous help. And I'll say hello to a few of you in a little bit. We're going to open up the phone lines right now for you guys. If you'd like to call in, please don't be shy. When you call and hit that link that is posted at the top of YouTube, if you're on Facebook, you'd have to come over here to access it. But for YouTube folks, if you want to hit the link at the top, it'll give you the option to be on camera, meaning your face like I am now, or off camera. What you can choose to do either one, and we can take your call and spend some time talking to you tonight. That's brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. You do want to check them out. You can see their logo up in the top. We're going to mention them a little bit later in the show, but they've got some big things going on this weekend with the tournament in town. So we'll talk about them in just a little bit. Obviously, I have my preferences on where I'd like to go with our conversation and things that I'd like to discuss, but really I want to stick where you guys want to go right now. Devin is here. Says lots of great news today. Looks like Rise Life is talking about a little bit of that. Is that official now? Is Dylan Cardwell now also? I've been checked out for about the last hour and a half, as I tend to do before these shows, so I can eat dinner and stuff like that. But I think that was always a foregone conclusion at this point, not to assume that he wasn't worthy of being in the NBA draft, but I think we all expected this outcome, just given the nature of just kind of looking and filling out the situation. If that's the case, what a great day and week it has been for Auburn basketball in terms of roster stuff thus far. Rob checking in from Huntsville. He's been all over the place. Poland, what was it, like Kansas or something, Rob? At one point, we got Indiana checking in. I forgot that you had moved up there to Indiana. Breaking news on the live stream. There it is. Dylan Cardwell is returning. It never fails. This is when I tell you folks that we need you to like help us build, be our army, help us build our little family. Tell folks when you come on an E2C network live stream, stuff breaks all the time, like news, recruits, good and bad stuff. It's always breaking on here, and I don't get to actually fully cover it or be prepared for it, which is fine. It's kind of more fun to experience it with you all. So let's just start right there. How's everybody feel about the basketball team now? What are your feelings about this upcoming year? Again, I would caution you, let's take a moment here and breathe. And I was already there. Yeah. Not that we were ever gone anywhere, but I would say when you get this type of good news, your instant reaction is we're going to dominate. We got all this together. And listen, I personally posted on my personal account. You can see my handle posted down there if you're interested in following, about Auburn having the best front court in one of the best front courts in the nation this year, with the return of Janai, with the return of Jalen. And I had already assumed at that point when I said that Dylan was coming back. So he was included in that mix as well. When you include some of these bigger guards, which are really small forwards, as part of that front court, you can really see a combination of new and old talent there that could coalesce into something very, very special with a fresh take at the guard position too. It's easy to really feel like this is going to be a scary, scary good team. And as Rise Life says, a scary, scary lineup for a lot of people. But let's all take a beat and just let it play out and not put too big of expectations without first scenes and things. Yes, if we didn't mention that, I thought I did. Jalen Williams is coming back. This honestly is the biggest news for me. I think in terms of what the team needed, Janai was really the piece that had to come back, right? Because we were really going to be lacking depth-wise. And we talked about this in the live stream, what we did when he announced this earlier this week, that how important it was just for the makeup of the team, not necessarily that there weren't other people like Dylan who couldn't fill the void, but depth-wise. Jalen, for me, is a guy that, let me put it this way. There's always one player, and it seems like every 3 years or so, that I just latch on to for whatever reason. Usually it's because they're just a sound basketball player. They do the right things, whether they're superstars or not. Jalen is one of these guys, though, that fits that description, but has the potential to be a superstar. So for me, this was the biggest news. This was the reason I was watching, waiting, listening, because I wanted Jalen Williams back this year. There's other people that'll claim they're president, CEO, king, queen of the Jalen Williams fan club. I'm sorry, I've got that one taken. I am a Jalen Williams fanatic. We've had his mother, Chantel Williams, on a podcast previously here. Just obviously a good Auburn family. So we are big Jalen Williams fans here, and happy to have him back. Holloway, of course, and Trey will be scary. Yeah, there's a lot of good things to like about what's coming back and coming together. Coalescing is the word I used into what could be a very, very fun year. How do we feel about having to play Alan Flanagan twice this year? Well, let me set this up. Most of you probably know this by now, but Alan Flanagan officially made it official that he was going to go to Ole Miss, where his father went to be an assistant coach. Don't think anybody's shocked by that if you were up on the news and the rumors and the speculation and the message board discussions. But it is official now. One thing that I do want to say, though, I get our natural instinct is when someone leaves us is to be, how dare you leave us, or to begin to downplay them and say, well, we didn't want him anyway. Let's not do the Bama thing. This guy ended up as an Auburn graduate. And I say the similar things that I did for TJ Finley, right? That I'm very proud of him. You walk away with that check mark. Not to say that if you're not a graduate of Auburn, and whether you're an athlete or not, that you're not a part of this family and things like that. But when you leave as a graduate, as long as you don't do anything to deliberately hurt Auburn, that is something that I really latch onto, and it resonates with me. So I hope that we treat Alan with the respect outside of the basketball court that he deserves as a graduate, as long as he maintains that relationship and maintains that good standing with us as the family. So I wish him luck, but facing him twice, I don't know if I like that. I would rather not face him at all. It's kind of the whole Bo Nix scenario. I'm glad we don't ever have to have those paths cross, but he chose one of the two teams that we will definitely see twice, maybe 3 times, if by some miracle Ole Miss gets fixed this year in SEC tournament or otherwise. You never know. Good question, though. Yeah, I don't know why that went away. So YouTube does weird things sometimes. It's hard to figure it out sometimes. Let's see here. In other news, that's the other big news tonight. And we're going to bounce back and forth a lot of things. So you guys just kind of hang with me tonight. I'll mention this and probably come back to it. We got games announced. We get the Pac-12 after dark. Yeah. A Eastern time. Was it 10:30 start? Whew. And that's where I will be. Y'all ready for that post-game show at about 2:30 in the morning? It'll be like Oregon State, Auburn Super Regional all over again, because I will do it. I've proven that. So let's see here. Ole Miss is making a splash in basketball. Not happy about the 7-footer from Kell. Is that who? Did they get Peyton Marshall? Because he was from Kell. Is that who? Did they pick him up too? Ooh. Well, so here's the thing. That shouldn't shock you, because Alan Flanagan was one of our good recruiters. And, Wes Flanagan, former assistant coach, Alan's father, went there, and it wouldn't, it would make sense that he followed over there. Think our game will be a little bit more balanced, but our 3 a little more, I guess, better is what you mean there. Maybe. Got to go out there in the court. It's easy to think that when it wasn't that great this past season, but just speculation alone doesn't win you basketball games and make your free throw percentage better. Good to see you, HB. Thank you so much for the kind words, and happy to have you here. Pelham checking in. WT, what's going on, sir? Russell's in the house. Looking forward to Flanny finally helping the AU basketball team. Oh my goodness. Nah, come on. Let's not be mean to him. I think people are really focused on Denver Jones since he has that 3-point shot. He might be on the Auburn fan base spotlight. I don't care who it is. If you knock down more threes than we did last year on a regular basis, you're going to be the fan favorite. That's why. So, okay, look, Leo Berman, let's talk about it. When you compare him to the other talents on the team, he's not in the top 5. And I think that's a fair statement to say. Now, if you talk about individual skill sets, like shooting compared to some of the other guys, he's in the top 5. But there's a reason, other than him playing sound fundamental basketball and being a good basketball player, when he came into the game, people got excited because they knew he was a good shooter and there was a high probability he was going to make it. So there you go. If you can show you have a high probability of making it, that you're pretty accurate, and that you're not going to take some wild shots, that you're reliable when the ball comes into your hands and you have the opportunity to shoot it, that it's going to be somewhat successful, you're going to be a fan favorite. And that's why Leo Berman. And it's the walk-on story, easy to latch on to as well. Let's see here. Peyton Marshall is visiting Ole Miss, hasn't committed yet. Thank you for the clarification. But there you go. Not surprised at all. It feels like Daddy Flanny rubbed Auburn the wrong way on the way out. New rivalry brewing. I don't know, Russell. I think that's more. I think people would like that. We always want a reason to hate somebody for leaving us or things like that. It's what happened with Bo. It's what will happen with TJ. People don't like when you leave us, and me either, to have success to some degree. Like I root for Bo because Bo, I think, got the shaft in many ways. I think Wes had plenty of opportunities, but Allen had plenty of opportunities here too. And he was starting to kind of realize that again last year. So it does, if you read into the commentary or lack thereof, when Bruce was asked, when others were talking about it, it feels very, the omission of certain language, the omission of detail when discussing it does feel like there was something behind that. And I agree with that. I don't know that for a fact, but I can go there with you. That felt like a decision that was not well received, but it still is. I just realized that my drink's behind me. Y'all got a shot of the Auburn cup back there, I guess. Give me a little sip. Anyway, all right. We'll keep going with your comments and questions. Good stuff tonight. Keep it coming, please. But if anybody wants to call in, please do take advantage of it. These are the good nights to do it, because when we get to football season, I'm sure we'll get a bunch of people calling in, and it'll be hard to let me allow you all to have time equally. Let's see here. I would love to have another, this one, combo like Harper and Brown. Guys rain the threes. Yeah, we're always going to put those guys on a pedestal because of what they did together, what they did in that season, and what they did historically for Auburn. So when you think about that, you're always going to think about them. That's what we have to have for success. And it's not necessarily the case. I would argue that the 2019-2020 team, which the season got cut short by COVID, literally the postseason was taken away from us. Oh, still mad about that. But that team wasn't really known for doing it the exact same way, shooting wise, combo guard. They had some good guards. Samir Dowdy was one of them. Allen was on that team. But they found ways to be successful with what they had in a different manner. All right, let's see here. Neil, it wasn't about that till you brought it up, but I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. Let's see here. Ole Miss will always hate Auburn because Tommy Tuberville left. It does feel like that Tommy Tuberville is what planted the seed of animosity that has been festering for a long time now with Ole Miss. And it's like that shrub that doesn't grow a lot for most of its lifetime, but then that 1 year, because of some reason, it just kind of bushes out, I guess, for a lack of a better term. And it becomes more, the thicket becomes more thick. And that's been the case with Auburn and Ole Miss, given the basketball situation, things with Lane, whether he was going to be the coach or not, recruits being stolen and stuff like that, interactions. Yeah. Rise Life points out that Bruce always finds a way to improve our walk-ons. I would agree with that, but I'd also say on top of that, and maybe more so, I think Bruce finds a way to find guys, walk-on or otherwise, and since we're talking about walk-ons wise, that could, if push came to shove, be utilized in a way that is helpful to the team. We've seen him use walk-ons a lot. We've seen him use a center as point guard. The guy will do what he needs to do to win a basketball game. All right, we got lots of comments and questions coming in, so y'all just hold tight. We've got our first caller tonight, so we want to go ahead and say hello to him and talk to him, and you guys can follow suit and get in line if you'd like to call in tonight, but we will get back to comments and questions here in a little bit. Let's see if we got the connection good. I think we do. Mr. Kevin, are you there, sir? Can you hear me, Kevin?
Kyle?
I can hear you, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm ready for another Auburn football season.
You are ready, huh? Well, you got about what? Let's think here. You got June, because tomorrow's June. You got June, July, and August.
Yeah.
What, you got a long way still to go. 94 days still left. Can you hold on that long?
Yeah.
Just matter of factly. Yeah, I can do it. Well, good. I'm glad you're excited. You should be. There's a lot of things to look forward to this season. What's on your mind tonight?
The kickoff starts at 2:30 that September 2nd.
Yep. So we got 3 times announced for us for the first 3 games. We have that 2:30. This is all Central Time for those of you that need to know. 2:30 Central Time for the first game. Second game will be at 9:30 Central Time. And then we finally get that sweet, sweet prime time 6 o'clock kickoff for the third game of the season. That will be very much welcome. So how do you feel about those times?
I think we can win all three games.
Yeah, I would say even without the drastic changes that happened this season, Auburn should be expected to win those first 3 to 4 games. Well, 3 games at least. Now, that's not to say that it won't be tough in some areas and there won't be some issues, but I do think that most years you would look at those first 3 games and go, Auburn's probably should be favored, even on the road in California, to win that one. You think that's fair?
What's the status on Jaquez Hunter?
Don't know. They really won't share any information on that. So we don't even know officially if he was suspended. We can all logically understand that.
I bet he ain't suspended yet.
I would never advocate for betting in any way, but betting on this. But if I was a betting man, I'd put money on that he is suspended, but there's been no official confirmation of that. And we don't know what the length of that is. So for me to sit here and say that's what happened and that's who's involved, I cannot definitively say that, but I can logically get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm glad that Janiyah Broome coming back.
Yeah. Which one made you more excited? Janiyah coming back, Dylan coming back, or Jalen coming back?
All of them.
He said, I pick D, all of them. Well, I can't deny you that answer because we really did need all of them back. And I'm thankful that we're going to have them. Which one has you most excited though? Like if you had to pick one. Either he's thinking or there's a delay. You still there?
Dylan Caldwell.
Kevin? There he was thinking. Dylan Cardwell. I can understand that. So every year it seems like we have the guy who is super. He's the hype man of the team, and Dylan is definitely that for him. Dylan Cardwell. Yep. I like that pick. He's one that gets me really excited too to have back. So, but a lot of people are saying Devin. Other people are mentioning some other names. But here's the great. Try one more time. All right, Kevin, I think we got a little bit of delay there. Try one more time, buddy. All right, Kevin, call back in if you can. We'll let you ask one more question, but we got to get a better connection from you on that. So try one more time if you can. Call back in. We'll let you say hello again. Kevin has the right hat on. I didn't really get a good look at that one. But yeah, we'll take one more question from Kevin if he wants to call back in. I didn't even look at his hat. Was it the Braves Auburn hat? Speaking of which, great segue to that. Most of you know this, that we are now an affiliate with Alumni Hall, which is a chain of collegiate sports apparel stores. Two actually in the Auburn Opelika area. One right there close to campus, right across from the sciences buildings. And you can shop online too. We've got a link down in the chat. If you want to go check them out, you can help support us by supporting them. All right, let's try Kevin one more time. Kevin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, tilt down. Let me see your hat. What's your hat look like? We got people, the Braves hat. So not even an Auburn hat, not even just a Braves hat. That's fine though. I'm a Braves fan. All right, I got time for one more question.
But I got Tank Ben. Is everybody the new faces for next season? Is everybody on campus now?
Last I understood it, there was one individual, and I don't know who that was. I didn't necessarily go searching for it either, that had not reported to campus yet. That was the last I had heard / read about. So it seems like for the most part, everybody's here. And from what I understood from some commentary from Coach Freeze a few weeks ago, that there was concern that maybe more than one may not make it to campus or would it be delayed. And if only one is the case so far, that's pretty good in my opinion. It feels like every year there's that one guy, maybe a second guy that doesn't make it for whatever reason, academics or otherwise. And only one so far, it seems like. That's pretty good in my book, to be honest with you. Uh-oh. All right, Kevin, thanks for calling in tonight. It looks like we're not going to be able to maintain the call, but good questions and comments and calls tonight, buddy. So we'll talk to you a little bit later. Hopefully we'll see you in the chat here. All right, if you guys want to call in, please do take advantage of it and call in just like Kevin did, and we'll go from there. Yeah, he did freeze in there. He did it, unfortunately. Let's see here. In the arms of an angel. That's funny. I'm super excited for baseball this Friday. Let's talk about this for just a second. We'll come back to some of those other bigger topics that I know you guys were mentioning while I was talking to Kevin. I am super excited about this weekend. I can confirm that I will not be in the stadium as a media member. There was not space available for me this time around. But I will be there watching from the parking deck. If I can find a decently priced ticket for like one of the games, I'll probably go in, but I will be on campus this weekend. So I want to see some of you guys. I want to meet some of you guys. If you're in the Auburn area, you want to go see our friends at allthingsauburn.net. This is a great plug for them. That's why I have their logo up there. You need to go to allthingsauburn.net. They're a place for you to stay at Auburn if you need accommodations. I'm not sure what their availability is, but I know this is a big weekend for them. So get in touch with them now. Miss Tanya is a great Auburn person and lady that you want to work with when you're trying to find places to stay there. But I say all that to say, come to Auburn if you can, hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun being on the plains this weekend with at least 2 games, hopefully no more, 3 games and no more than 4 for us to make it out of our own hosted regional to what should be expected, the Clemson regional, not too far away as well. You got Penn, you have got Samford, local team, you have got Southern Miss, the other team that's highly suspected might get out of this one too. Might get out of this regional too. So it is going to be interesting. Here's the frustrating thing for me, Neil. First of all, it's going to be hot and special in many ways. The bats, I think, are going to be hot. But this past weekend, it was my birthday, by the way. But I was going to do something, but it was just too chilly to do it on my birthday. It's so frustrating to see that like removed by a weekend. And now I'm going somewhere where I would have loved that weather. And now it's going to be basically, I wouldn't call it scorching. It's just upper 80s, almost it'll probably feel like it's in the 90s, but that's basically what you think of when you think of baseball weather. And so yet another reason I'm glad it's probably a blessing. I'm going to be up in the parking deck where you can get a little bit of shade up there, but I would love to go in there if I can. So if you have any thoughts around the baseball games this weekend, we can talk about it, but I want to go back to some of these comments. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Aiden Holloway is better than Bronny James. I'm going back to some of your comments for earlier that we missed. I mean, I think so, but my opinion is a little biased. Oh, going back to what we were talking about there. Sorry, when Kevin called, we were talking about the dynamic between Auburn and Ole Miss, and I hope that you guys were here for this past season where I try to get some individuals on to talk about their perspective team, if it's a different fan. So for Ole Miss, we had Jason Alvarez on, and he shared his opinions, and I thought was very honest opinions, saying that, yeah, Ole Miss wants to be where Auburn is in terms of perception, in terms of prestige, and there's some of that at play there. I think Ole Miss, being the state university, feels like they should, even in a different state, be more prominent than the secondary school in Alabama. And they're just not, at least historically. Now they're going to year over year have some successes where Auburn's not, but historically Ole Miss will always fall behind in most categories to Auburn. And I don't say that conceitedly. I say that from an Ole Miss fan who admitted as much. Probably being a little bit more confident in the way I'm saying it, but he basically said that. WT saying having other teams people come on here for their perspective was great. I hope to see more of them. Yeah, so I'm trying to balance that. Give you guys some extra voices on here when possible. Believe it or not, it was harder to schedule than you would think. Everybody's got a podcast these days, but you would think that it just wasn't available last year. I mean, I think I only got about 3 of the 6 on that I had officially reached out to, maybe 7 or 8 that I had reached out to, but we'll hopefully do some of that. Neil says that Ole Miss has not won the West, an SEC championship, and doesn't even have a Heisman winner. Are you sure about that? Wasn't Arch Manning a Heisman winner? You sure about that? That am I wrong? I thought Arch Manning won the Heisman. He was 4th in the Heisman voting. There you go. I guess it's just one of those things that you assume that it's a done deal. Russell says that Auburn, Alabama is greater than the state of Mississippi. I mean, I agree. I just confirmed that too. But, you never know when that might change. I am shocked that Arch Manning didn't win the Heisman. I feel like I live in some alternate reality. It's just one of those things that you had tucked away in your brain and felt like it was always true. And so now my reality is warped. Let's see here. Going back to some of these other comments we missed. I think Pearl versus Beard will always be a great matchup. Have they played each other recently? We didn't get to play Texas Tech. He wasn't even at Texas Tech then, though. Yeah, anyway. We will all, Jones here from Facebook, we will all see. What does that mean? Give me some context for that, Joan. I don't know what that means. Need a little something with that one. All right, so what do we all think about this? I'm just going to prompt you guys with another topic. We'll bounce around. What do we all think about this SEC scheduling thing? You hear Kirby Smart talk about it. He's tired of talking about it. I think we're all kind of tired of talking about what might happen. We'd like to know what's going to happen. If you got any thoughts on that, 8 SEC games scheduled, 9 SEC games scheduled, divisions, all that stuff that's reignited with the SEC meetings this week. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know. WT says Arch Manning and Eli Manning both ended up in the top 5, but no winner yet for them. That just, is that not one of the things? Listen, Auburn fan through and through, but I feel like I can objectively look at the game of football, especially college football, and say some things that feel like they should be true. It feels like a Manning should be a Heisman winner, does it not? Just given the success they had at the college level and at the NFL level. It just feels weird that none of them were Heisman winners. Wasn't Peyton the one that got closest, finished second or something? I don't have all this in front of me, so I'm just curious. Mississippi best player, Archie, 0 Heisman. Best player for Auburn, Bo Jackson, greatest ever. I mean, if you quantify it that way, it's hard to argue with that. Yeah, look, if you talk about best players, Auburn wins in that category. If you talk about football history, Auburn wins in that category. I'd have to look at their basketball history versus ours. I feel like we would win that. Baseball, they probably, I would assume they'd have the leg up there. So that's your big 3 right there. To me, there's nothing about Ole Miss that sticks out to me in any other areas, sports-wise, that I would say, okay, you got to give them that. Not to just be rude and take a shot at the educational system of Mississippi, but I think there's a reason that they usually fall behind most states, including Alabama, in educational stuff. And I know that's secondary school, but either way, I think when you see Ole Miss versus Auburn, you probably value that a little bit more educational wise. So, Auburn just wins right now. And that's okay to say, because that's the truth right now. Peyton lost to Charles Woodson. I knew it was a big name. I just couldn't remember who it was. And I doubt Eli, Peyton, and Archie Care, multiple Super Bowls, are better than a Heisman. Depends on what you think about the NFL. Like, as a player, yeah, it's obvious they're probably gonna value that more. To me, I value, as a fan, a Heisman Trophy more than I do a Super Bowl, because I don't connect with professional sports really outside of the Braves. Hardly at all, unless they've got a Auburn player there that I can really latch into. And it just to be honest, it's hard to lock into a team because they've got a few of your offensive linemen. You want them to do well, but I get excited when we see the list of who makes it to the NFL playoffs, who makes it to the Super Bowl every year, and there's an Auburn offensive lineman or even defensive lineman in there. Defensive lineman is better because they get a few more stats to talk about. But for me, it's got to be like a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, a safety, a cornerback. linebacker, some tight end, something like that you can really latch on to. Eli beat Brady twice. You tell me, Kyle. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Yeah, he's probably more concerned about them Super Bowl rings than he was winning a Heisman. But I bet at the time he would have said, I'd give a Super Bowl in my first year or two for that Heisman trophy. It's a big deal. It's a real big deal. And there's a reason only one of them are given out. So is the Super Bowl, but you get my point, every single year. So anyway, it's got me thinking about our Heisman row now and who could be the next one added and what direction if you've been to Auburn recently and kind of stare at how they've got it configured, I find it interesting how they did it too. So when you walk on it would be the student side of the stadium, that entrance area, which would be the east side, if I'm thinking about my geography right, that is Heisman Drive, but also Heisman Row, if you want to call it that, for where the bust, like an NFL thing, like the shoulders and head of John Heisman sit. And if you're staring at that in the stadium, to the left is where all the current Heisman Trophy guys are in sequence. So you got Pat, Bo, Cam. I thought they would start doing them mirroring each side of the stadium, but they're just going down that left side. If I looked at it properly last time I was there, you've probably got room for one, maybe two more on that side, and then you'd have to start going to the other. So I guess they're going to just fill up the left side if we get there before we fill up the right side. But yeah, it'd be nice to get another one of those soon because Alabama, unfortunately, is finally, it sucks to not be able to say we have a Heisman, we have multiple Heismans, y'all don't have any, and now they've overtaken us in that too. Just yet another reason we are all hoping that little Nicky Saban is not long for the college football world. WT, I know you bring it up every Wednesday night. There's no rhyme or reason behind who is not in here. I just picked people that stuck out to me at the time. It's a lot of work to change it every single week, so we can't do that. And plus, I try to keep it to strictly Auburn University images so I can give them the credit where credit is due. If you use a bunch of different pictures, you're technically stealing all those pictures. Russell has got some information for us. Auburn to Ole Miss transfers. JJ Pegues, DB. Yeah, I'm blanking on that too. Ole Miss to Auburn transfers decommitting from Ole Miss and signing, counting all that Shane Hooks. Well, there's more than that. We stole their offensive lineman coach, who was arguably one of the best, if not the best, up and comers, offensive line wise, at that time. Along with that, one of the guys was either committed to Ole Miss or about to commit to Ole Miss and decided to come to Auburn. Then you've got the latest Shane Hooks. We talked about that. I feel like there's one more though with the Ole Miss scenario because it was like three things in football that we took from them that clearly puts us in the win column. You can understand why they're a little frustrated with us right now. Kind of along that lines, I'll be honest, it's kind of nice to not be talking about recruiting as much right now. I know that seems oxymoronic. I know that seems very wrong to many of you, but man, that transfer portal, when it got going, and it was hard to keep up with all the stuff here. So is anybody else kind of glad we're having just a little bit of a quiet time for that? Because to me, I mean, unless you guys know something, it doesn't seem like of course, we don't know when these high school kids are not going to make their decisions. But it seems like for quite some time, we are going to have at least some quiet on the Western Front, so to speak. The transfer portal is done effectively. I wouldn't be surprised if like some random guy came in a little bit late in the summer because something didn't work out, or we had to fill a slot because somebody didn't qualify or something like that. But the excitement of that is kind of done for now. So we really start looking towards some of these high school guys that are starting to take official visits this summer into the fall. So that's where our mind is going to shift and start focusing to. And there's a few big guys out there that I think a lot of people are focused on, wide receiver wise. I think a couple of linebackers, defensive linemen that people are hoping will commit. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, you can't forget about us stealing Will Thornton. That was a big, big get for us in terms of perception, in terms of what looks like the best hire out there. But also in the same note, could you do much worse? I'm speaking basically off results. We tried everything else and it hadn't worked. So that was a big, big get. Over a half an hour into the show, and I have not heard a mention of Buc-ee's. Well, this doesn't count because you're bringing it up. But you know, we posted, I know most of you, I shouldn't say most of you, a lot of you come to our live recordings. And if you've noticed that I try to pick one segment from that a week and repost that as a video out here for those of you that may want to watch it again or listen to it again, but also those of you that aren't able to watch it live or think to go watch that segment. This week was us talking about that graphic that went viral all over Twitter, essentially, but I'm sure more than that. Last week with Auburn and Buc-ee's being in this image for the recruit that spawned other universities and professional teams to create images like that of their own. So it was quite a day where Auburn won the internet. So go check that out if you haven't. And it includes Buc-ee's too. There you go. And thank you, Russell. There it was. Thank you. So Shane Hooks, Will Thornton, Austin Keys stole their transfer, that linebacker as well. I knew. And then on top of that, the whole the basketball. Wait a minute. Did we steal somebody from basketball? I can't remember now. Anyway, we've caused a lot of frustrations from Ole Miss. So not that I want to see the Flanagans go, but I'll take that trade for the sport that needed a little bit of extra help in some areas. Drip edits just coming in out of nowhere. Jarquez situation. What do you want? No, we mentioned this a little bit earlier. If you're looking for new information, there's none here for me to share with you. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on. It's pretty close to vest. I'm sure people have got their sources and people that tell them, here's what we know. Something happened with Jarquez on the internet, or supposedly, allegedly Jarquez, and supposedly suspensions happened for, we know suspensions happened for some players. We don't know who. We can all use our logic to understand who that is. I hesitate, unless privately, I did talk about with someone privately, to mention any other names because I don't know that for a fact. But all we know is that some players were suspended. For how long? I don't know. Who that is? I don't know. But unfortunately, you find yourself in a scenario, given what Hugh Freeze has been through in his past. And I saw a content creator try to take this situation this week, and you could tell it's not someone that's like connected with Auburn or even really connected, should be even talking about this, but tried to it was such a sloppy job of trying to tie this situation to Hugh Freeze's wrongdoings in the past, which he has openly admitted and has atoned for already, but continues to try to atone for it, ask for forgiveness and all that stuff. But I say all that to say, given the nature of what has happened and people using that to spur, like that content creator, further controversies, you can understand why they were quick to just suspension, not even like hesitation. So yeah. Dusty's here. Good to see you, Dusty. Ole Miss fans have become my favorite. What an interesting bunch. I don't know that they're going to, they're not going to overtake Arkansas fans. It's at least internet, YouTube wise, Arkansas fans, those that I don't think we have very many stopping by these days, but when it involves Auburn and Arkansas in here, they are quite a pair. WT wants my honest prediction for how Auburn comes out in the region. I think they win. I think it's going to be very close, though. Everything that I'm told that I can read and learn for myself tells me that this is a super challenging regional. I hear others say, nah, Auburn's got this. I don't know. To me, given our pitching situation that has been better as of late, not so great in the SEC tournament, I feel like, again, we just got to give them enough runs. And if our offense can do that, I think we'll be fine. So I would say Auburn wins it. Clint and I did a prediction show, like a preview show. He said it doesn't go to a Monday game, meaning in a double elimination scenario. I think it does. So I think I'm going to be in Auburn until Monday is basically what I'm getting at. I feel like Auburn's going to lose to SMU. Oh, Southern Miss. That is it would be the university. It would be USM, not SMU drip edits, just so you know. That's why it confused me. I was like, when did SMU get it here? Yeah, I think Southern Miss presents a challenge. Those are some fans, Dusty, that are getting riled up right now. They're starting to come in here. I think they say go black and gold or something like that. And then they got this like acronym they use. It's really weird. Auburn will make it out of the regional, I think. Yeah. I think so. I'm not ready to say that this should be a definitive thing yet. Being a 13 seed overall, that means you're in the lower end of the host seeds, which means you get the tougher 2 seed. Theoretically, you get the tougher 3-4 seed, at least the 2 seed. It may not be exactly with the 3 or 4 seed, but so that gives you an opportunity to have better competition and maybe run the risk of, getting beat. Hopefully not, though. There you go. A little history from WT. If you guys have not watched the Pony Express ESPN film, you need to. That's really interesting. I knew about that before I watched it, but at the same time, I didn't. And filmmakers build the narrative they want to tell, even if it is truthful. So always keep that in mind when you watch like documentaries and stuff. But it's just interesting. Go watch that if you haven't. I saw that the fake meme thing of them. Yeah, I saw that as well. That was fun. Payback on the plains for the Tennessee 20 in Tennessee 23 shenanigans coming in supers this year. You gotta if you're talking about Auburn and Tennessee meeting up, Auburn's got to win theirs, and Tennessee's got to upset Clemson, which is maybe likely. I don't know. That feels like a good matchup too. But think about this. Here's the great thing. So if Auburn does what is expected in terms of seeding and stuff like that and wins their regional, because that's why you seed teams, you expect this result to happen, they would either way end up in a region that is super close to a lot of their fan base. I mean, you couldn't have asked outside of the Tuscaloosa regional, you couldn't have asked for a better draw. You go to Clemson, which is, Atlanta's 2 hours away from Auburn. Clemson's, I think, another hour and a half. So 3.5 to 4 hours. Knoxville is similar. That's pretty good. And there are big contingencies in the area, too, of Auburn fans. It's amazing how SMU pushed the envelope when things were coming up. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about that documentary. Drip Edit says, I live by Sanford. I don't know who I should. And we're done. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I meant to bring we didn't know who was going to be there when we recorded the Auburn Experience episode 37 last Sunday night. We knew who Auburn was going to host, but if you recall, if you guys listen to the podcast, you'll know that Austin has a relative that plays for Sanford, and he wore Sanford gear to the game with them at Auburn. what happens if, what happens if he has to decide when Auburn and Stanford play? But for you, Drip Edits, there you go. I'm glad you're kidding on that. I was going to be very, very upset with you. Very upset with you. My brothers both graduated from Stanford and pretend that they don't know what fandom they are because they went to graduate school elsewhere too. I've chosen to revoke their Auburn cards until they do some serious atoning. But there you go. Yeah, living close to them shouldn't, I live closer to, well, actually, I think I'm right in the middle of Tennessee, Clemson, and Auburn. Auburn may be the furthest one, but by not much. Georgia Tech. That'd be like me saying, I'm going to, if those of you don't know, I'm around the Atlanta area. So is Neil. That'd be like me saying, I'm going to pull for Georgia Tech versus Auburn simply because I live near them. Neil's got Sanford ties, but will not pull for them. Yeah, it's funny when you think about it. There are a lot of ties of Auburn to Sanford and like UAB to Alabama, which makes sense because UAB is effectively owned by Alabama. Sanford's not owned by Auburn, but there's the history with Pat Sullivan, the Bowdens, there's other things that seem to have correlated with Auburn and Sanford and vice versa, UAB to Alabama. Yeah, it took me a minute to get there, but yeah, I would ask that you guys, I see y'all having your side conversation about the Jarquez situation. The details of that, I'm going to ask that you guys not exchange that in the chat. Yeah, just, I think you'd understand why. You can, unfortunately, Neil, you can do your own research on that. Let's just leave it at that. It is not something that we want to be discussing the details of in our little family right here. Sonny DeShera, thanks, Sanford. Very good. Very good. Yes. That's another good connection there. That's a very, very good connection and one that we're very proud of. Is it worse than the Dustbuster? Yes, it is. It is worse than the Dustbuster. The Dustbuster was a passing comment by some creepy individual here on the internet that we now morph into our own thing. This doesn't need to be really addressed. Yeah. So you just need to know it's not good. Anyway, so there's that. All right, we're sitting at about 52 minutes on the broadcast. Normally I wrap this thing up around 9. I don't have to, but I will tell you that if you're wanting to call tonight, please do. I will leave the phone line open for another 5 minutes or so. If you guys are still having topics you're wanting us to hit, keep them coming, and we can stay on a little bit longer if needed to. But I will definitely start wrapping up at 9 if it feels like we've gotten to what all y'all want to talk about. So keep it going if you want to keep it going. But yeah. What else have we hit tonight? Let me think about that for a second. You guys bring up some things, and let me do this part of the show. You guys know I got to do our plugs for everything. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Again, please do go check them out, if nothing else, to just check out, see if it's a place that you'd be interested in staying. Miss Tanya is one of the best Auburn people I know, and they got some fun things planned for the people staying with them this week. I think they've got a tailgate going and everything like that. Check out our friends at Alumni Hall. Their link is in the description. You can support them by support us by supporting them. They've got some Atlanta Braves and Auburn combination hats that just came back in the stock. I put a link out about that today. And as always, check out the links for other descriptions and be looking for our next scheduled live stream, which will be the Auburn versus Penn post-game show. Be a little late after that, but hopefully you all can attend. Subscriber giveaway still going on when we reach 4,000. Check out those links in the description for being a channel member, a Booster Club member, all those things. And Booster Club members, when I go to town, I send y'all extra stuff in that app. So be looking for that. And all those things in between for ways that you can help support E2C Network and keep the lights on and keep us growing. building our little family within the Auburn family. Honestly, and I always say this, the biggest thing you can do is be here, smash the like button, share button, wherever you're watching this. And I would love if you'd tell one friend about E2C Network and invite them onto a Wednesday night show, invite them to check out a podcast, to check out a video. That's how we grow this thing, is by you organically helping build our little family within the Auburn family. So that is my plug for you this week. How's AU hockey doing? Well, they're out of season right now. Obvious. I mean, I don't say obviously. Isn't the Stanley Cup still going on? So I don't know. They made a really good run this past year to the finals and to the championship, I should say. But yeah, I promise you, we'll get all kinds, anything Auburn. Here's what I would say to everybody. If there's a topic that you want covered in the Auburn family experience, I would say I also want to cover that, but we got to continue to grow and build and make this thing bigger so that I have help along the way. The Dustbuster show was one of the funniest ever. The ending it was, yeah. The ending was. Sanford has 4 players that have been in the MLB. Is that all time? Because they could count Sonny DeShera because he was there first, you know. In my mind, you can count that. I guess if we don't want Alabama to count Jalen Hurts, we can't say that either. He's Auburn. It doesn't matter. They can do what they want. Will Buc-ee's do any promotional things for Auburn? AU Jerky, AU Nuggets. So good question, Neil. I don't know if you checked out our highlight. So I've actually done several videos about Buc-ee's, but I did a full-length, unedited, just footage from the day video. It's a little bit longer, and then I did a highlight reel of what's in Buc-ee's. If you've never been to one or if you just want to check it out, there is one section of college stuff, and they had Auburn and Alabama stuff there. And it's like your typical banner, the car tags, things like that. That's it. Here's what I understand from the Buc-ee's point of view. They don't do hardly any promotions, any advertising, because they don't need to. I did not get that as an official statement, but that's kind of what I was. There was an individual there at the opening day also doing his own content creation for that I spoke with. And I believe it was him that said, this is what I do. I cover them and their openings and talk about them a lot. And they don't do their own advertising because they don't need to. So yeah. Drip Edits, you said basketball. What do you want us to hit about basketball? Because we spent a lot of time at the top talking about that. So if there's something specific you're wanting us to hit, let me know. How is Buc? I would love for Buc-ee's to be a sponsor. And if you guys have the hookup at Buc-ee's, let me know. I would love to have them as a sponsor, but I don't think that's a reality. I appreciate the kind words in there. I appreciate that. Listen, I am excited to see what Buc-ee's is going to be like on game weekend. Just the sheer madness that's going to take place there. I will be hitting up Buc-ee's while I'm in Auburn this weekend for something, probably lunch one day, because they've got some really good food there. All of those things. So don't miss it if you come to Auburn. So Drip Edits is clarifying, not including Sonny or any transfers all time. Ooh, it's pretty rough. Now look, can people name the MLB players for Auburn in the historically? So I'll do my best here. You've got was it Josh Garrett? No. Josh Donaldson, Frank Thomas, Tim Hudson, Gabe Gross, Bo Jackson. Those are your big ones right there. I know Greg Olson, he made it to the MLB, right? I think those are your big ones right there. Any other ones that come to mind? There are 2. Edward Julian just made it to the MLB recently. Anybody else that I'm forgetting? Never forget that Auburn is the only SEC school with that has a former MLB Hall of Famer. Amen. Amen to that. Bo, Big Hurt. Yep, all the ones Casey Mize, maybe, yeah. I mean, he's there, but he's been plagued by injuries, so I don't know if you count him in that list yet. If he could stay healthy, is he even playing still? I think he is. I think he was working his way back. Big Hurt was the best. Listen, if Bo had concentrated on baseball, he probably would be the best. Yeah. Casey Mize is probably like, if you wanted to create a tier of like the big names, which we just mentioned, and then like the mid-tier names, these would be a lot of players that are just now getting there too. Then you would have names like Casey Mize and stuff. He's our number 1 draft pick though. So if nothing else, he wins because of that. Dusty, basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they... Did you do that on purpose to get me this? Kyle's thinking if he should bring back his rap persona and do the basketball rap for you. DJ Skittles. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I keep it so fresh on the microphone. I used to be able to do that. Keegan Thompson, Garrett Cooper. So I had it right, didn't I? That was good though. Dusty, that was well played, sir. That was really... Garrett Cooper. Yeah, that was one. Kim, thank you. So you got several of y'all said that, but yeah. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that like minor rap that I just did. But yeah, Auburn's got a pretty good list of players that have been there, made some noise. Think about the list that we just talked about a second ago and when you compare that to others. Bo, Big Hurt, Greg Olson, Tim Hudson, Gabe Gross, Josh Donaldson. That is what 6 guys right there that you would tell to a general MLB fan, and they're like, "Oh, I know that," or "I definitely know that name," or "I do know of that name." I think maybe Greg Olson is one that people and Gabe Gross kind of fall down that list a little bit, but I feel like they had prominent enough careers that most people, especially really true Major League Baseball fans, would know them. David Ross. David Ross is in that list too. So that's 7. I like this. I like this. It's like a working exercise here. All right, we're going to go ahead and close down the phone lines for you guys. We'll spend another couple minutes here. So last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get them in now. As for your rap, keep your day job, sir. I will gladly do that. I would much prefer that than to be a rapper, because I would not want to tour and things like that. Terry Leach, I don't know who that is. Being a defensive player, Lud full court press when playing would have matched you. My defense was nasty, but I would be happy to get the ball in the hoop. Felt magnetized when I shot. Interesting. You calling me out? Is that what I'm hearing? Played basketball last night and well, never mind. I actually shouldn't say so. I may have 1 or 2 people that play there that watch the show. I should watch what I say. Here's the trouble, guys. Let me pull the curtain back for you. I love and also hate being in front of the camera, because I love it because I have to be on my game, make sure I'm not saying things I don't want out there, but I also hate it because of that reason. I can't be I'm honest, but I can be really honest if I want to when the camera's not on me. Of course, you don't know who Terry Leach is. You don't know, but I don't know. Listen, I don't claim to be proficient in baseball. I know the minimum as it relates to Auburn, the minimum. Obviously, don't know everybody. Listen, if we talk about great Auburn baseball players, you got to put Jimmy Hitchcock in there. It's the reason there's the Hitchcock Award in Montgomery. There's the Hitchcock Field. I think that when we talk about statues that are or should come next, you're talking about a Hal Baird, you're talking about a Jimmy Hitchcock, talking about a probably Tim Hudson at some point, things like that. But anyway, all right, I know I've said it once, but I'll say it again. Final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get in right now. Again, hope you guys will stay tuned this weekend while I'm on campus. We'll be posting stuff on social media, but Booster Club members, you'll get a few extra things while we're there. If you're going to be in town, come see me. I'll be up at the third row deck unless I'll post otherwise. You'll know if we made it into the stadium, but I won't be there as a media member this go round. But I would love to sit with you, see some of you up there at the top. So please hang out with me if you can, if you're going to be in town. Even if you don't think that you can get in the game, come hang out with us at the deck. There's seats in the outfield. You can stand up along the fence line right there. This is going to be a fun atmosphere. This is a fun weekend in Auburn when school's not, well, summer school is, but school's out of session for the most part. So don't miss it if you can come. Gotcha. Josh Johnson. I don't think Josh has reached that level yet, but I could be wrong. That's just me. Tim Hudson is the greatest AU pitcher of all time so far. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm not educated enough to know if that's wrong. Casey, if he could have stayed healthy, probably would have taken a run for his money. Those were some good days in baseball. Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, Mark Mulder. And then you had that trio and then the Braves trio of Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox. That was a good time in baseball. Here I am, sound like a crotchety old man. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I always look forward to Wednesday night shows because you all are the best little family in the Auburn family. And you make this so easy because I just get to hash it out with you here. No preparation, none of that. Just set the show up and you guys are the show. So thank you so much for being here, for taking part in this and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. I look forward to a fun weekend on the plains. Check out all the content that we got out there for you now and upcoming this weekend. And we will hopefully get back together soon, maybe for a post-game show and much more. And talking about some good things for Auburn baseball and many, many other things related to the Auburn experience. Till I talk to you guys again, War Eagle.